1, 2, sing. Phakamisani fleki kethu yeZimbabwe eyazalwa impi enkululeko egazi lebaselile
Salibonani.
The Ministry of Education, Sport, Arts and Culture is the largest ministry in Zimbabwe. It is responsible for running 8,000 schools, educating over 3 million children, and is also responsible for sports administration and the promotion of arts and culture in Zimbabwe. We have approximately 110,000 employees, and they consume about 2/3 of the nation's civil service budget. I inherited a ministry 3 years ago which was in a state of crisis. Most of the 8,000 schools were closed. We had then 90,000 teachers on strike and a variety of other problems. And so the last 3 years have been consumed with stabilizing the sector, but now we intend moving it forward. Well, I think that one can only judge the improvements and the successes in the light of where we came from. As I mentioned just now, when I took office, 8,000 schools were closed, teachers were on strike. The textbook pupil ratio was at best 15 to 1. That is 15 pupils to one textbook. In many schools, the only textbook was the textbook that a teacher would have. The infrastructure of head office and schools throughout the country was crumbling, and morale of staff was very low. So what we've done in the last 3 years is we have stabilized the sector. All our schools are open. We've established a good rapport with teachers and the 3 teachers' unions. I regularly meet with them and we have good relations. As regards textbooks, we have now got the textbook pupil ratio down to 1 to 1, which is the best in Africa. In the last 18 months, we've delivered some 15 million textbooks to primary school children, and we're just in the final stages of delivering some 8 million textbooks to secondary school children countrywide.
How important is changing the political narrative in Zimbabwe to encouraging international support?
It's critically important, both domestically and internationally. Domestically, it is important because until we increase business confidence and the confidence of Zimbabweans generally, the domestic economy is not going to get moving as it should, and morale remains low, and that means that people aren't energized in the way they should be. And that will only happen through the stability that comes through a peaceful process towards democracy. But the same applies internationally as well. There's a lot of skepticism in the international community about this transition that we've chosen for the country. There's a fear that hardliners are not absolutely committed to seeing this process through. And because of that, there's a reluctance amongst some in the international community to invest in this transition period. And I've seen that especially in the education sector. Some nations have not contributed at all because they fear that the money will simply prop up a tyrannical regime. Well, we face huge problems because our budget last year, for example, was 14.8 million. That is the amount that we actually receive for non-salary expenses to educate 3 million children. That's less than $5 per child for the whole year. And we saw that evidence today, where you've got hot seating taking place in schools. Because we don't have sufficient money, we can't build the schools that we need to. And so there's a physical constraint, but there's also the problem of teachers. Clearly it's not just a problem of building new schools. You then have to train additional teachers to meet that demand. And when you hot seat like that, when you double up on the schooling, it places an enormous strain on teachers who have to teach a whole school in the morning and then a separate school in the afternoon. And so inevitably the quality of the teaching goes down. I think that there are a variety of strategies that need to be employed. First of all, of course, one has to use the children argument, that children should not be affected by politics, that if you don't address the needs of children, that one creates much greater problems for any nation and indeed region for the future. We can just look south to South Africa, where a whole generation was denied an education because of political policies, because of an ideology of Bantu education. And that has come with a huge social cost in South Africa in the form of increased crime rates, disillusionment, and the like, and often has threatened the transition to democracy in South Africa. And so the key argument to put is, even if we are concerned about this political process, even if we are concerned about the fact that there is still a current generation of politicians not committed to democracy, we must not allow that to be perpetuated in the coming generation. We need to ensure that this generation has all the tools at its disposal, is allowed to become literate and numerate, so that even if we perpetuate in the short term the problems that our nation has, we're not going to do that in future. But the second argument I would put to the international community is that one of the ways of securing a genuine, sustainable transition to democracy is by raising the confidence of people in the process, this peaceful process that we've chosen for ourselves. And one of the ways of doing that, of course, is looking after the children in this interim period. Because there's no doubt that when children are happy in school, when they've got textbooks, when they've got roofs over their heads to learn in, when they've got access to computers, they become happy and they learn, and happy children lead to happy parents who then gain confidence in this peaceful process of transition. And when it comes to the elections, there are tangible benefits that they have seen, which they will want to perpetuate and continue. And I believe that, for example, if they can see a tangible improvement to the education sector, they'll know where that has come from. That is a dividend of the peace process. And they won't want to reverse that by voting in hardliners who they know will reverse that process and take the country back to where it is. So this is the second argument that I put, that by investing in health, by investing in education, the international community, I believe, will in fact guarantee a sustainable democratic future for the country. Zimbabwe is a country with enormous potential. It is a fantastic investment destination for companies from throughout the world. It is a country that has been blessed with abundant resources, highly energized, literate population, mineral resources, beautiful climate, fantastic tourist facilities, wonderful rains, good soils. It's got everything. The one thing it's lacked has been democracy. What I'd say to the international community is, knowing the potential of this nation, they need to invest in the health and the education of the population, so that when democracy is installed and when we can start exploiting the amazing assets that this country has, we have a population which is healthy and numerate and literate, which will enable the economy to fly.